in his effort to avoid paying the city more than $1 million. Manitoba's Court of Appeal dismissed Schiegel's effort to overturn a 2022 ruling he accepted a bribe from this man, Armik Babakanians of Caspian Construction, and manipulated the tendering process to ensure Caspian received the city's police headquarters construction contract. In the Court of Appeal decision, Justice Christopher Minella said the evidence of Schiegel's dereliction of duty is nothing short of staggering. Minella listed 14 separate instances where Schiegel breached his duties on top of accepting the bribe. There can be no reasonable debate that Schiegel failed to provide the city with the required loyal and disinterested advice in several ways during the tendering of contracts on the project, separate and apart from the bribery allegation. Schiegel's lawyer, Robert Tapper, declined to comment. Winnipeg's chief administrative officer is pleased.
We always felt the evidence was really clear of what had occurred here, particularly with respect to the conduct that was the subject of the litigation.
Schiegel must now pay the city $327,000 plus interest for the bribe he accepted, $250,000 plus interest for severance he received, $333,000 in city court costs, and $100,000 in punitive damages. The court said those damages could have been higher because Schiegel undermined confidence in municipal government and, according to the decision, tried to cover up his bribe by conjuring up a sham Arizona land deal to explain his payment. The city also lost a lawsuit today to this man, developer Andrew Marquis. A judge awarded Marquis $5 million because two city planners deliberately stymied his effort to develop the Parker lands in Fort Garry. Marquis started the process 10 years ago. He still doesn't have shovels in the ground. The court found former Winnipeg chief planner Braden Smith and a planner who still works for the city put obstacles in the way at the behest of River Heights councillor John Orlico.
Really, truly, someone shouldn't have to go through really what we went through in dealing with the city of Winnipeg.
The city hasn't decided whether to appeal. CBC News was unable to reach former Winnipeg chief planner Braden Smith in British Columbia. Councillor John Orlico declined comment. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Winnipeg police now suspect arson was involved in a massive fire that destroyed a Point Douglas industrial building. The Tuesday morning fire sent black plumes of smoke over the area, forcing some people out of their homes. The Major Crimes Unit is now investigating that fire as arson. A police spokesperson said that decision was based on information that was provided by fire investigators at the scene, but could not provide any further details. A Winnipeg family is in mourning and looking for answers tonight after their father was killed when a tree fell onto his tent. Mel McIntyre died during a storm Monday in Manicatogan Provincial Park. The woman he was sharing the tent with was not hurt. McIntyre's son Chad says the family is now planning a celebration of life.
I remember my dad as my best friend, as a good father to us three, a great father to us three, and our grandkids. He was a big-time Bomber fan. I'm a season ticket holder, going to the game tomorrow. We're supposed to go to the game tomorrow. He just retired 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 4 months ago, so he just retired. He was just ready to enjoy his time. He's like, I'm walking out at 60, so I can go out and enjoy whatever I want to do. And that's what he was doing. That's why he was out there.
McIntyre says they want to speak to the first responders as well to thank them and learn more about what happened. The provincial government continues to face criticism tonight for the failing to search the Prairie Green landfill for the remains of 2 First Nations women. The decision has led to a blockade and the closure of a different landfill south of Winnipeg. Some political analysts are questioning the reasons given for not searching, but as CBC's Josh Crabb reports, the reaction has been slow to roll in from the government's main critic.
Brady Road landfill has been closed until further notice. Activists and family members of one of the women whose remains police believe are in Prairie Green landfill blocked the road. Melissa Robinson says it's in response to Premier Heather Stephenson telling relatives the province won't pay for a search for Mercedes Myron and Robinson's cousin, Morgan Harris.
The fight has just begun. By her telling us no, it makes us want it even more.
A feasibility report found a search for the 2 homicide victims could be successful. It would require sifting through 60,000 tons of material, including toxic waste, with no guarantee of finding their remains. It could take 3 years and cost up to $184 million. But the Premier says it would be too dangerous for workers. Kathy Walker is a University of Saskatchewan assistant professor of political science from Okanese First Nation. She sees a lack of political will and public apathy as factors.
That's mainly driven by, misrepresentations of Indigenous women and girls that were somehow inferior or deviant, or that we somehow deserve the violence.
Manitoba Liberal leader Dougald Lamont sees it as a failure of leadership for other reasons.
Indifference and cost. I mean, this is it. This is a province. We have to recognize this is a province that has a terrible record of treatment of First Nations.
Christopher Adams is a University of Manitoba adjunct professor of political studies. He says the decision may not have a huge impact on voter support for the Progressive Conservatives.
In general, the First Nations community does not vote for the PCs. So in terms of this being an election year, I don't think there's a lot of fallout.
It's been more than 2 days since the decision was shared with families. The opposition NDP has yet to weigh in on the provincial government's decision, despite repeated requests. University of Manitoba Professor Emeritus of Political Studies Paul Thomas says there are likely difficult discussions and decisions happening among party leadership.
So they'll have to come out with a position, and they'll have to shape their response in such a way that it doesn't cost them further public support.
The federal government has yet to say if it'll fund a search. A statement from the Office of Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Mark Miller says the proposal is still under review. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The province is increasing the number of care homes and assisted living options. 6 more personal care homes will be built in Winnipeg, Arborg, Lac du Bonnet, Oakbank, and Stonewall. That will increase the number of beds by close to 700. The province is also piloting the Community Supportive Living program. Shared Health says up until now there hasn't been an option for seniors who require some assistance but aren't ready for a personal care home.
A disproportionate number of senior citizens in this province have historically been admitted to personal care homes prematurely. This new pilot project, called the Community Supportive Living Program that Minister just spoke about, will provide affordable housing with supports for seniors with various levels of complex care needs.
The program will be tested in Selkirk, Swan River, Ashern, as well as in Eriksdale and Emerson. Lightning strikes are responsible for 2 fires in Winnipeg on either end of the city. Take a look at this video from around 7 last night. Did you see that? That was from a doorbell camera on Carriage Road in St. James just after 7 last night. Lightning struck a home on Granada Crescent, just 1 street over from there. Luckily, no one was hurt, but the fire department did have to come and extinguish a fire in the home there. It was one of 2 homes that were hit by lightning in the city last night.
We pulled in up the street because the fire department and everything was blocking the rest of the road. So we couldn't get into our driveway or onto our street or anything, and we just jumped out of the car. Like, all of us were just in tears. We were worried that it had hit the tree. We hadn't been told much over the phone. We were just told that the neighbor's house was on fire.
About a half hour later, firefighters were called to a bungalow on Walden Crescent in Transcona. 1 firefighter was treated on the scene there for minor injuries. And that brings us to a look at your weather now, and thankfully nothing like that on our horizon in the immediate forecast anyway at this point. We do have some scattered showers beginning to move through parts of southern Manitoba. We can take a look at satellite radar, and as you can see, mainly clear and sunny skies through much of the province. We are seeing some cloud cover and some rain moving through parts of the north. That will continue into the weekend, but as we take a closer look, you can start to see some scattered showers starting to build in the southern Interlake heading from north to south toward the city of Winnipeg. So keep your eye on the sky for a possible sprinkle as we get into the evening tonight. Looking at Futurecast, you can see that we do have variable cloudiness across the province as we head into Saturday morning. You can see that we do have some heavier bands of rain moving through northern Manitoba. Flin Flon, Thompson up toward Lynn Lake, expecting some rain even in toward the Gillam and the God Lakes region. We'll talk about rainfall amounts coming up just a little bit later. But as we look into the rest of the weekend, you can see Saturday afternoon, mainly cloudy skies in Winnipeg, some heavier rain into central Manitoba. And there we have some more rain moving through central and southern Manitoba as that area of low pressure continues to spin off into Hudson Bay, bringing us some showers into early Sunday as well, and more steadier rain for parts of the province into the later part of Sunday. Looking at your projected rainfall for southern Manitoba, not really much to speak of. We're looking at maybe a few millimeters. I think that 15 millimeters in Portage is a bit overstated for the weekend. The rainfall mainly falling in parts of northern Manitoba, where we will expect upwards of 10 millimeters in some parts of northern Manitoba. So keep your eye out for that as we get into the weekend. Right now, 20 degrees in Winnipeg, 21 in Brandon, 19 in Thompson at this hour. These are a few degrees off normal for this time of the year. Tonight, mainly clear and 8 degrees in Winnipeg. We'll start the day tomorrow with a few clouds, 13 in the morning and 24 with a chance of an isolated shower in the afternoon tomorrow. Rain across northern Manitoba on and off, 19s for Thompson and Norway House, 22 in Flin Flon and the Pas tomorrow. In southwestern Manitoba, mix of sun and clouds, 24s for both Brandon and Dauphin, as well as for Morden, with some sunny breaks in the afternoon. For the southeastern part of Manitoba, chance of showers in Barons River, otherwise just an isolated chance of showers for much of the region. 24 in Winnipeg and Emerson tomorrow, 23 in Steinbach, and into northwestern Ontario, comfortable conditions, 21s for Kenora and Dryden, 22 in Fort Francis. I will have your 7-day forecast at the end of the show. When you walk through the main entrance at St. Boniface Hospital, you might notice some postcards on the wall, but if you look a little closer, you'll see that there's actually words on those postcards written by patients, nurses, technologists, and doctors.
Learned that we all have different beliefs and ideas, and they all matter. Acceptance with a little heart from Stacy, one of our technologists. I've got another one here. I'd like to thank all the hard workers for fighting against COVID-19, for all the long hours, no breaks to save everyone. You guys are heroes. Bye, COVID-19, from Angie in nursing.
Some reflecting on COVID, others writing goodbye. That was Paul Turin there with the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority reading some of those to us. He says anyone is invited to go and write a message on them or share a memory from the COVID-19 pandemic.
My main hope for this project was just to allow the people who work here and the patients who come here and everything an opportunity to reflect on it and get it out of their systems a little bit and say, you know, it is okay to know that we can move on. We don't have masks here at the hospital anymore. We don't have screeners or social distancing anymore. That's all fairly recent for us. It's more recent than for general society. We had restrictions a lot longer here, and the pandemic era was really hard on people here, and so it's a healing exercise and in catharsis and letting people kind of get it out a little bit and say that it's okay to move on.
The postcards will later be put in a time capsule along with things like photos, COVID test kits, and thank you cards. It will be stored at the Buehler Gallery for 25 years. Still ahead tonight, concern in Belarus after hundreds of tents were set up at an army base offered to members of the Wagner mercenary group. That story after the break. Stay with us. We have a clarification on a story that we brought you earlier in the program. Winnipeg police have clarified to us that the warehouse fire in Point Douglas has not officially been ruled arson at this point. Police say Major Crimes is investigating the possibility of this fire being an arson. They blame a miscommunication to us for that error. In Belarus, hundreds of tents have been set up in an army base that was offered to members of the Wagner mercenary group. Its leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin, led a short rebellion in Russia last month before being exiled to Belarus. The tents, though, are causing concern among other countries in the region, especially now that Belarus has received some nuclear weapons from Russia. Briar Stewart explains.
This dirt road lines part of the nearly 700-kilometer border between Lithuania and Belarus. And a border guard team escorts us through a remote area that they patrol daily. The razor wire fencing is to deter migrants from illegally crossing over, but that's not the only security issue along this part of NATO's eastern flank.
Now the border looks very calm and safe. However, the situation usually is very dynamic. It might change in the course of a couple of hours.
Belarus has said it started to receive some of Russia's nuclear weapons, and there's uncertainty around the Wagner fighters and their leader, Yevgeny Prigozhin. After an apparent deal to end last month's rebellion, they were supposed to go to Belarus. The government offered them this camp, but officials say the fighters haven't turned up. If they do, Belarus's president says they will be a valuable asset. Should we need to use this unit to defend our state, if they're here, it will be done in a moment, he says. And that's one of the reasons why Lithuania is appealing for more NATO support. There are already around 1,000 NATO troops stationed in Lithuania, and the country wants to see more. Germany says it's prepared to deploy an additional 4,000 soldiers, but not everybody living near the border thinks that's a good idea. Where's the border?
Border, right, this.
Yaroslav Levko says he worries that Belarus and Russia might view more NATO troops as an escalation. His neighbor down the block says it will certainly make her uncomfortable. It's going to be hard to sleep soundly at night because there will be more tension. In Vilnius, which is getting ready to host world leaders for the NATO summit, many are in favor of the help.
People will feel much safer if we notice that we have them here. I think we need them, yeah?
For now, along the border, residents say life is peaceful, and they just hope it stays that way. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Vilnius.
Well, some people may be surprised to learn that prices for the same menu item at McDonald's can vary from location to location, even when they're just a few kilometers apart in the same city. And some customers want to know why. CBC's Danielle Nerman explains.
Would you pay 40% more for your fast food fix? Well, you might be already, depending on where you order. Everywhere you go, McDonald's tastes the same. But want to know what's not the same? Prices.
The prices for, say, chicken nuggets across McDonald's in the city is varying from $11 to $16. That's really shocking.
He's right. When you compare the price of a 20-piece chicken McNuggets at every McDonald's location in Calgary, the cheapest are $11.69 and the most expensive are $16.39. Similar price variations can be found in cities across Canada. Why? Well, according to the McDonald's corporate website, most of its restaurants are franchises, and the owners set the prices. That's why two McDonald's just a few minutes drive from one another can have big price differences. I talked to David Hopkins about this. He's a longtime Canadian restaurant consultant. He says when it comes to pricing, it's all about knowing your customers and what they're willing to pay.
It's what the market will bear. I remember the first time I had a Starbucks coffee in Niagara Falls, and I was absolutely shocked at the price. It was something like 40% more for the same coffee. But that's just tourist market, and they know they can charge more, so they do.
According to the Canadian Franchise Association, it's not unusual for menu prices at any franchise to vary. If rent is higher in one neighborhood than another, well, That might be why you're paying a few more bucks for those nugs. If you're not loving it, you can keep driving or use the McDonald's app to shop around. It will tell you if you're getting the best price for your Big Mac.
CBC's Danielle Nerman in Calgary. A Saskatchewan farmer is getting a lesson in emoji etiquette after a judge ordered him to pay more than $82,000 for sending a thumbs up. This emoji episode started when a buyer sent a text to the farmer 2 years ago expressing interest in purchasing several tons of flax. A picture of a contract was sent and the farmer responded with a thumbs up. Court documents show the farmer failed to hold up his end of that contract and didn't deliver. A judge ruled that a thumbs up emoji is legally binding and similar to a digital signature. The judge pointed to a dictionary.com definition which says a thumbs up is typically used to express approval.
You, with your switching sides and your wildfire lies and your humiliation, you have pointed out my flaws again as if I don't already see them.
Swifties rejoice. Taylor Swift's Speak Now album, the Taylor's version, is out now. It's a third in a series of re-recorded albums she's putting out after she lost possession of her original master tracks. The album features Taylor's version of the songs originally released in 2010, including this song, Mean. I will have your 7-day forecast and we come back and a daily lift that might leave you hungry for a plate of scrambled eggs. I'll show you why after the break. Well, let's take a look now at your 7-day forecast. We're expecting a little bit of unsettled weather with some overnight showers Saturday into Sunday. 24 degrees for both Saturday and Sunday with periods of showers on Sunday. Monday, clearing and 21 degrees, and then we stabilize a little bit in terms of weather with sun and clouds for the balance of the work week. 24s for Wednesday and Thursday, and 27 degrees under a mainly sunny sky on Friday. Well, what's brown, oval-shaped, and weighs 202 grams? It's the largest chicken egg laid in Canada, potentially. While there's no recorded record, a Manitoban thinks that her chicken, Henrietta, may take first prize. We crack it in tonight's Daily Lift.
Henrietta normally lays eggs this big. Okay, so she lays about 75-gram eggs. Eggs jumbo size start at 70 grams and up. So in comparison, this is the egg she laid. It fits my entire palm. It's about the size of a small mango. So it's just absolutely incredible. And I feel so bad for her. Oh! There is an egg inside of the egg. Now, this one I presume is just a regular egg. But there we are, double yolker and 2 eggshells. I was in my house getting some work done and I heard my guineas sound the alarm. Now they alarm at pretty much everything, but if they go on for a period of time, I will go and check out and it might be due to a fox, a hawk, etc. So I went out at about 9 a.m. and they were all in behind the coop you see in the background here, screaming their heads off. And when I got close, I could see this ginormous egg on the ground. And my first thought was, oh my goodness, this is such a huge egg. And second thought was, my poor chicken. After my shock over the egg, I went and checked her out right away. Just something that big, you never know, prolapse or something. And no, she was fine. I was very relieved to see that there was no blood, no nothing. She just had a sore rear. She's doing better. Yesterday, she was walking around a little tenderly. But this morning, she seems back to her usual self.
Well, I'm glad that Henrietta is doing all right, and that really makes me want to have some scrambled eggs for supper. Thank you for being with us. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you again on Monday.